guys.
Great. Thank you very much, Nat. And welcome, everybody, to Fireside Chat number 2, really. Rob was number 1. And today, Dorothy Carleton is our guest. And she's going to share her stories with us. I'm sure most of you, probably everybody in this room knows Dorothy. You all see her smiling face, her ray of sunshine.
Hi.
When she comes down the hill, down from the end of the rainbow up there, down to pick up her mail. So please join me in welcoming Dorothy.
Oh, thank you very much, everybody. Great. Thank you.
Okay, now just to make sure, say something, Dorothy. Are you being amplified a little bit by that?
Am I being amplified?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, but we don't want you to lean forward. Do you think that?
Do I have to bend over?
No.
No.
But hopefully you'll, if you can't hear Dorothy for any reason, let us know, because we can put the mic a little bit closer to her. Okay, so here we go, Dorothy. Dorothy, push the button, go.
Let's go.
Okay.
So where are we going first?
Well, we're going to start at the beginning. You know how you start at the beginning and you reach the end, then you stop. That's the way you do things.
I don't know whether I can stop. I just keep going.
You do. So the beginning was in London.
In England.
In England, yeah.
England. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I shall start. I'm originally from England, actually London. I was born in London. I'm not going to give you the year, but you probably do. And then my parents moved to Reading, and that's where I spent most of my, not all my life, because I came to Canada, but I went to school there, and I went to work there, and then I finally came over to Canada. But that's another story, okay? So we went to Reading, and yes, I went to school there, and I worked there until I was 14, and then I quit school to go to work to help with my folks, because they were quite of modest means. I needed a little bit of help, so I went to work when I was 14 at a place called the Thornycrofts, and they built marine engines for big ships. So it was quite interesting. And I was a shorthand typist.
Yes, you learned.
Yes, I learned
shorthand.
And I learned that at school. So that was very nice to have that taught to me in school, because that's how I earned my living. And then I worked there for about 2 years, and then my dad saw an advertisement in the newspaper for somebody in the English Forestry Association with twice as much money. So I applied for that, and I got it. So it was farther away from my home, but I had a second-hand bicycle, so I was able to handle that. And yeah, it was I was the only woman there, only girl. At that time, I was a girl. I was the only girl, and it was the English Forestry Association, and the rest were guys, so that was great. It was very nice.
Yeah.
They grew trees for big estates. There was a lot of big estates in England, and they grew trees for big estates. And also, when the war came around, I was in a reserved occupation. They wouldn't release me to go. I wanted to go in the land army. I would like to have done that, but my boss wouldn't release me, so I had to stay in the English Forestry Association, because they were growing trees and helping towards the war effort, I guess. Right.
But you were an air warden, weren't you? Take a drink.
Yeah,
Here,
I'm going to take a...
You're getting a little dry.
I have to wet my whistle. Cheers.
Cheers. I'll have one too. Cheers.
That's better. Maybe 2.
Is that water, Dorothy?
Could be a bit of gin in there, you know.
Yeah. So you were an air raid warden?
Well, I haven't got to that quite.
Okay,
yet.
well then I'll just let you run. Okay.
Okay, I've got as far as working for the English Forestry Association, right?
Yeah, okay.
And then the war came around in 1939, right? Right. And so that's when I volunteered to become an air raid warden. And an air raid warden was, my job was to report at the headquarters, which was in my school down the basement. It wasn't too far away. But it was kind of scary when the alert went off, and it was all dark around, and I was fairly close to the alert, so it was quite scary. Anyway, I reported for my duty, and I was given a flashlight, and my duty was to parade around the streets locally to make sure that everybody had their blackout curtains drawn. They had to have special blackout curtains made, so there was no lights for Mr. Hitler to see. So it was quite a scary job, actually, because the German planes were quite distinctive. There was quite a hum to them, and they were just above, right? So it was quite scary. So I had to patrol until it was the all clear, and it was quite noisy because I was fairly close, but I was glad to hear it. So then I turned in my flashlight, which was covered half. I only had half a light because they didn't want too much light around. So then I could go back to bed. And I went, because you had to report for duty regardless of where you were, right? And I was in bed, so I had to quickly get dressed and report for duty.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd done through the war. So now I'm getting to some really interesting parts. That was 1939, right? The war started. In 1941, the Canadians came over. Quite a contingent of servicemen came over. And amongst them was my future husband. But I'll get to that in just a minute. I've got to build up to that. And there were two Carleton boys came from Didsbury. I don't know if anybody knows where Didsbury is. It's north of Calgary. And so they came over together, Russell and Ed Carleton. And my good friend Phyllis, who was in Reading, went to school with me in Reading, joined the Air Force. She was in the WAFs. They called it the WAFs for short. The Auxiliary Territorial Service or something like that it was. And then Russell met Phyllis, and they became quite interested in one another, and they got married in 1943. So Ed, being Russie's brother, he was the best man, and I was the best friend of Phyllis, and the rest is history because we got started too. Yeah, we started courting. You don't hear that word anymore, do you? It's kind of old-fashioned, but that's what we did. We courted, yes. And then eventually we got so interested in one another that we got married too. So.
But you got married a little bit after. Ed saw some action.
Yes. In the meantime, Ed he reported for duty for D-Day and had to go to France at a place called Caen, C-A-E-N, and there was a big battle there. And he got wounded there. He got shot by a sniper, and had to come back to England for surgery. He had to have a plate put in his head. We weren't married then, actually. We were still courting.
Right.
But it was quite serious. Yeah. He lost a lot of blood.
Yeah.
So he had to be brought back to England for surgery at a place called Aldershot. There was a big army camp there at Aldershot, not too far from Reading. So I was able to go and visit him on the train. And incidentally, Phyllis's husband, Russ, also got injured in Caen. He got shrapnel in the back of his head, which remained until he died, some of it. They couldn't get it all out. But, so they both ended up in this hospital in Aldershot, and for 2 weeks they didn't know one another was in this same hospital. It was quite a lot of casualties. But she would travel with me, of course. We traveled on the train together to go and see our men. She was married, but I was still courting. Right.
But then you did get married.
Eventually we got
March,
married in March the 3rd. Yeah, March the 3rd of 1945. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
And your sister made your wedding dress?
yes, my sister had to gather up coupons because material was, everything was rationed during the war, everything. Except the, like liver and kidney. Oh, there was no coupons for liver and kidney and heart, which was, it was quite popular when you got word that that was in the butchers. The butchers got liver. So all the housewives rushed down to get just a pound of liver. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, my mum was in that lineup too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was coupons for wedding dress material?
Yes. Yep. Really. So we had to barter with the neighbors to get their coupons, and we gave them our cheese ration. That's how it worked, really. That's how it worked. So that took months to get that taffeta. It was taffeta. Anybody know what taffeta is? Yay! I'm dating myself. Yeah, it was a nice dress, and I made my own headdress. So that was very nice, and we got married on March the 3rd, 1945.
Mm-hmm.
And our little son was married born in December, so figure out. That was, that was quite respectful.
Yeah.
How about that? I'm very proud of that. I gotta have
Good for you. Have another drink there.
another
Cheers. Cheers. All right. And that's your son, Mike.
And it was Mike, our
Mike,
firstborn. Yeah,
your
that's
first
right.
son.
Our
Yeah.
first son.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was 45, and pretty soon you...
1945, that's
45,
right.
pretty soon...
In 1946, I came to Canada, right? And that's... no, I was... no.
Yeah.
Mike was...
Mike was born in December.
That's right.
Of
I
45.
came in 46.
And you came in 46.
46.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To Canada.
And he was born in December 1945. In England. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an Englishman, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank God he's in English.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was from England.
So how did you get to Canada?
The Canadian government was really, really good. There were 42,000 of us. That's how we became war brides. And you had to have married as a Canadian serviceman, and I was quite eligible for that. And so was Phyllis. So we were, the Canadian government sent a lot of big ships over, and I was on a hospital ship together with other war brides, which only had one smokestack. Other war brides had these Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mary, 2 smokestacks. So they were much bigger ships and very nice.
Yeah.
But this was just a medical ship, and we had servicemen on board ship, and we also had an escort, because they were still concerned about torpedoes and underground stuff that wouldn't be very nice. So we had the English army escorting us on both sides of the ship. So it took 10 days on the ship to get to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And we all landed, maybe you've heard of this, Pier 21. It's historical now. I don't think they use it as a landed immigration. That's where we had to got our identification. Landed. I remember it being stamped. Landed immigration. Landed immigrants. That's right.
Yeah.
Landed immigrants. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was and a foggy day and not very attractive. We were just wondering what we were all doing there. All these wars. Yes. But Pier 21 is very special to all of us. That's where all the landed immigrants landed, of course.
Yeah.
So then, of course, we had to, the Salvation Army and the IODE were very, very helpful in taking care of our children whilst we took care of paperwork. I've got to work.
Yeah.
Cheers again.
Yeah.
That took quite a while for all the paperwork. And so the Salvation Army were very good, took all that. Took my bundle of joy, which was in a carry cot. I didn't tell you, by the way, I'm backing up a little bit. On the ship, the lower bunks, that was bunk beds that we had to sleep on, was reserved for the pregnant women. Up above, the upper bunk was for us regulars, which meant that I had to carry my bundle of joy up the step ladder every night and put him on the bottom of the bed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Didn't fall out?
No, it didn't fall out. No,
No.
he slept very. But the motion of the boat kept him fast asleep, which was very good. But most of us were seasick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all that beautiful food. As soon as we got on the Canadian, the ship, we saw all this beautiful food that we hadn't seen in England for many years. There was bananas, there was whipping cream, there was butter, all those good things. And we couldn't eat it because we got seasick. Yeah, that was very disappointing because it was lovely food.
Oh, gee.
Oh, gee is right, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyways, we landed at Pier 21, done our paperwork, and then we've all got to get on different trains, right? Different trains, because we've done our ship journey. Now we have to get on trains to come across Canada. And there was a lot of war brides. 42,000 and 20,000 children. That was a lot to take care of. And of course, they're all getting off at different times. So we go for distance, and then we'd hear the train stopping. And then a little distance, and then the train stopping again. There was a lot of war brides from Saskatchewan. So they were the ones really that started the Saskatchewan War Brides Association, which was very good because we got some really nice reunions that they organized for us, which was very, very nice. Right. Anyways, I eventually got to my destination, which was Calgary. And somewhere in the crowd there was my husband. I didn't recognize my husband because he was in a suit and a trilby hat he had on. He looked like, what did I say he looked like?
Al Capone.
Al Capone. He did. Poor Ed, yeah. And here I'm dragging my bundle of joy around looking for him. But then he recognized me, which was good. Yes. But he hadn't met his little son. That would be the first time he met his son, who would have been about 3 months old then. Quite young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, from Calgary, we journeyed up to Didsbury. That's where his folks lived, to Didsbury. We got off at Didsbury and stayed with his folks for about a year. And during that time, there was an advertisement in the Didsbury post office for a park warden. So Ed applied for that. In the meantime, he was working for the Alberta government, making roads down south or something. He applied for that and he got it. They gave preference to veterans too, which was very nice. So pretty soon he's off to Lake Louise. I'm still in Didsbury. He's off to Lake Louise to get training with Beef Woodworth. I don't suppose anybody has. Beef Woodworth was the chief warden at Lake Louise. So being a prairie boy, he'd never done any climbing, he'd never done any skiing, so he definitely needed a bit of training. Poor Ed. So he was there for about 2 months, and I was still in Didsbury. Another drink.
Another drink.
We got as far as that, right? Didsbury.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I forgot that. I was so anxious to have it. I hope there's more in the tap.
Oh, there probably is. Yeah.
So I'm still in Didsbury. Ed is in Lake Louise. And we don't have cell phones or anything like that to communicate. Anyways, at the end of 2 months, he sent for me to Lake Louise. He's in Lake Louise. So I take a bus to Lake Louise, and I get off at Lake Louise, of course. And there he is with a big 4x4. Anybody know what a 4x4 is? Yeah, it's a truck. And in the front of this truck is a winch. Anybody know what that is? Mm-hmm. A big winch, right? I didn't know. I'd never seen one before. Huge wheels. It was originally an army truck, but they had put a cab on the top so we didn't get wet. So he met me at Lake Louise, and he was so happy that he got his first district, which was Bow Summit. Anybody know where Bow Summit is? It's the top of the Banff Jasper Highway, right? Just across from Bow Lake. So in we load, complete with our bundle of joy, get into the truck, and we drive to Bow Summit. And this is really quite the story. We drive to Bow Summit. He gets out on his side, and he's so happy that he's got his first district. Comes around to get me and my bundle of joy. I get out, and he points to this building, and he says, this is home. I said, it's just a one-room log cabin that looked like a storage shed to me. I'll never forget that. I said, Ed, you've got to be kidding. Oh dear, oh dear. It was quite a shock to me. It really was. Coming from a big city in England to a little old cabin, just like the Windy Cabin here. Has anybody seen the Windy Cabin? People have been in it, yeah. It's right next door. Well, it was a cabin just like that. So we walk inside, and it's just as rustic as the outside. It really is. And I see this thing coming out of the air. There's a heater, right, that you put the logs into to keep the fire going. And halfway up the stovepipe is this thingamabob. And this thingamabob is my oven. Yeah, really. It's I had to learn to bake bread on that because there was no neighbors to run to get a loaf of bread or even safely. I had to learn to bake bread on that, and I even made the odd pie made out of wild berries.
Wow. Oh.
But it wasn't too difficult in those days.
No. And you got your water from the creek?
Got the water from the creek, yeah. Lovely water, made lovely tea. It really did. It made lovely tea.
So
this is going to be gone soon.
Oh, we'll get you some more. So what did you think of the scenery around
Oh, the
you?
scenery, I couldn't get over the scenery. It was just fantastic. I'd never seen anything like that, of course, in England. It was just fantastic. That was the best part of it, actually.
Yeah. So is that why you stayed?
Yeah,
Why you
that's why I
didn't turn around and go back to Lake Louise?
Right. Yeah, I was wondering why I was there, too.
Yeah.
And, of course, the water came from the creek, and it was just a coal oil lamp for lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Coal oil lamp for lighting. Did you get that? No electricity, of course.
No.
And the Biffy was about a half mile up the trail. And I was scared to go because Ed had to come with me several times because I was told there were lots of bears out there. That's what Ed's dad told me in Didsbury. Watch those bears. He says, there's one behind every tree. That's what he said to me, so no wonder I was worried.
Oh, gee.
Oh dear, oh dear.
And what about, did you have a crank telephone there?
And yeah, one of those things on the wall, right?
Yeah.
And I think we were a long and a short and a long for our cabin.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That was our means of communication. The phone line was just haywire with insulators. Threaded, yeah, you're probably familiar with that. Yes.
Yeah. Good. So you.
Cabin here in Namtaja Lodge, or where was the actual warden cabin?
Across from that.
Across from.
It was on the right-hand side, Chuck, going towards Jasper. It was, but you couldn't see it. You couldn't see it from the main road, which was gravel in those days, and it just went to the ice fields. Yeah, but you couldn't see it. You had to wind yourself in, and that's why it was such a shock to me. I didn't realize what was the end of this little drive down to the cabin, and there it was.
Yeah.
There's nothing there now.
No. In fact, my family have been several times trying to find a little trace of it, but I have heard that there is a weather station up there now. Did you hear that, Chuck?
Right.
There's a weather station up there.
You can still see the Iceland poppies, Dorothy.
Oh yes, but I think that's maybe that was the warden that had the pleasure of moving into a new house. They built a frame house up there, but we didn't get to live in that. No, we had moved into town before they built that new house. Maybe that's where the poppies were blooming. We did have a few poppies down at the cabin.
Yeah.
And plus there was a lot of porcupine. A lot of porcupine in that, around that little cabin area. And as soon as we got into bed, and we had to turn this coal oil lamp off, jump into bed quick because it was pretty dark. And then we heard the porcupine gnawing on the front door. Yeah, really. Just about every night, yeah, really. Well, that's what they went for. And they chewed up the toilet. Yeah.
So how long did you stay at, you didn't stay there
Not
too
very long because the cabin was not winterized. So we had to head into town. And maybe somebody has heard of the Stampedo, probably, eh? Stampedo.
Dorothy, did you get to know the Simpson family at all?
No, I
Because
didn't.
they were the people that lived at
They were
Bow
just,
Lakes.
that's right.
And
Yes, they were.
in
No,
the
never.
s- in the winter
Ed never
time,
took me over there.
they were my neighbors.
He used to go and check on them to see if they had any bear problems or whatever. But I never got to go over there, no.
Oh, what a shame.
My nearest neighbors actually were Lake Louise, Beef and Mac Woodworth. And on the other side, it was the Saskatchewan crossing. So it was quite a big district.
Yeah.
I have to,
Bow Lakes is halfway.
it's about half, right.
So next, what happened next? Where did you end up after?
I'm going to back up a bit.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm gonna back up. I must
Just
tell you that,
push the button.
oh, where's the button?
No.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, the warden's wife at the Saskatchewan crossing was very helpful to me. Just coming from England, I didn't know very much about even surviving in that cabin and how to make meals, etc. She was very good to me, I must say. And she is still alive. So she's about 100 years old, but
Who is that?
that was Dorothy Black. Does
Okay.
anybody remember? No. And the husband was Bill Black. And incidentally, he was in the Calgary Highlanders too. So he knew Ed very well too, which was kind of nice. Which was a bit of a connection there. But I just wanted to tell you how she really helped me. And they had a nice frame house at this crossing. Yeah, they did, really. In fact, I remember Ed driving down there. They wanted to raise it up so they could put a basement in there. A basement they were going to have. Yeah, I remember watching because Ed had to use his winch for a lot of that. And I remember watching it. Oh, you lucky people. It was a very nice house. Very nice house. A frame house. And here's me. No, that's enough of that, I guess.
Okay.
Anyways, I'll press the button again.
Okay. Stony Creek? Are we getting to Stony
No,
yet?
just a minute.
Oh, okay.
We had to move. I told you we had to move into town just for one winter. And Stampedo lined up the house for us to live in. And there was electricity. Oh, it was great. I was able to turn the lights on and so on. But that was only over one winter. And then we went to Stony Creek. Anybody been up the Cascade Fire Road? That's Stony Creek, right?
Sure.
Our little house. And that was a little frame house, so that was kind of nice. But no electricity, outside Biffy, and all those things.
Yeah.
But it was a nice scenery again. It was
Yeah,
nice,
and
nice.
pretty soon you had another baby too.
Oh, just a minute.
Okay.
I was going to tell you something.
Oh,
Something about Stony Creek.
Probably 9 months.
Right on. That was one of the things, right? Stony Creek. Actually, that's where I learned to ski. I don't know if anybody's been out there, but there's a little hill that takes you right down into the cabin off the sort of main road. So I had to learn to ski. And somebody gave me some old wooden skis to learn to ski on. And somebody gave, by this time, little Mike is 3. So he could handle some children's skis. And Ed even, he learned to ski on that hill. So I've got a black and white picture of, I don't know who took the picture, but we're all very tense looking, right? Coming down this hill. And little Mike, he seemed to have more confidence than the adults. But yeah, that's where I learned to ski. I wasn't very happy about it. No, I wasn't. No, never having skied. I'd much rather be hiking. So, anyways, then from Stony Creek, our first trip on the skis was to a cabin called the Cuthead Cabin. Cuthead, right. And that was quite an expedition, believe you me, it really was. We had tried, remember, Terry is still quite the baby. And how do you move with a pram? We had a pram out there. How do you move a pram on this snow, deep snow? We tried everything. The only thing that would work, not too bad, was a toboggan. It didn't, and we chose April, where there was a little bit of a film on a crust on the top of the snow. Thank you, Chuck. So we had the cabin, the toboggan, with little Terry in it, the cat, and I with my skis trembling, and Ed, of course. And there we start out for this Cuthead Cabin, which was about 6 miles. It was quite a journey. It really was quite a journey. So when we get there finally, it's another little old cabin with mouse dirts and cobwebs. And Ed had to stock these. They were called line cabins. He had to stock them with tin stuff, like tin meat and fruit, and in case a warden and his wife came from the Yalhatinda to make their headway into Banff, they had to stop halfway and get shelter and food. So that was the reason for our trip, was to take all these canned food things. So guess what we had for supper? Oh dear. But yeah, because we stayed overnight, and then we headed back to. It wasn't quite so bad coming back, because there were a few hills going down, which really helped. So that was quite an exciting trip. So then we were at Stony Creek for, let's see, we went to Stony Creek in 53 until about 55.
55.
55.
But you're forgetting Terry, your second baby. You had Mike and.
Going into town. Yeah, I had to go to town. No, I didn't have my baby in the backcountry. No. But you had 2 children. You had Mike and Terry up at Stony Creek. That's right.
So you had a baby and an older toddler.
Right.
Yeah. And you pushed the pram around on the meadow.
In the summer. Yeah.
In the summer.
In the summer. That's right. Yeah. I took a pram out there. Or we took an old pram out there that somebody had given us from Didsbury. So we took this pram out there. Everybody know what a pram is? Yes. Good. That's great. I was very pleased to have that pram because that was Terry's bed at night too. Yeah. And so we walked through the pasture with baby Terry in the pram, bumpity, bumpity, bumpity. But he slept all the way through it, which was great. Yeah. And who should join us but the 5 horses that Ed had out there in the pasture. And they went one behind the other, in behind us, which was kind of a cute picture, actually. Yeah. It really was. But they were glad of some company, I think. They were just lonesome, just standing out there in the pasture. So pretty soon they followed us. We got as far as there was a gate there. And we'd turn around and come back again, and then go back again. Sometimes we would go up above to the main road. Jim Deegan, do you remember Jim Deegan? Jim Deegan would often talk about it when he ran into me. He remembers seeing me with the pram on the upper part, of the main part, and then we'd have to come down that hill again. Yeah.
Good.
But we survived that.
You survived that?
Yeah, I survived that.
And there were more adventures after that, too. Moved on.
To Eisenhower?
Eisenhower.
Eisenhower.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and
How's our time?
oh,
Are you okay?
don't worry about the time.
No, don't worry
It's
about
okay.
the time. No.
It's okay.
Don't worry about
They'll let us know if they'll start fidgeting if they've had enough.
Yeah, right.
So, so you were at
Okay.
Eisenhower for a few years.
Okay, from Stony Creek, we were transferred into town and stayed overnight, and then we were transferred again to Eisenhower, which is now Castle, right? Eisenhower. Castle actually is a better name for it, but that was named after the American president in those days, right?
It's called Castle first.
Was it really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Really? And that was a better name, actually. You know, it looks just like a castle, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful mountain. I really enjoyed living out there too.
So did you have a house or a cabin? Have you finally got a
A
house
bigger
yet?
cabin.
You had a bigger cabin.
It was a log cabin, but it was bigger. Still no electricity, still no running water, and outside privy. And of course the ashes had to be taken out somewhere too. So not too many facilities,
No.
but there was more room. We had like a veranda. We had a veranda, and we had a nice big kitchen actually, and one bedroom, and the living room. We spent a lot of time in the kitchen because that was the coziest place. You could hear the fire crackling and the wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the happiest time for me to. I would get to bed. Oh no, I would get to bed. It was in the morning. That's right. In the morning, Ed would get the fire going, and it was such a nice noise to hear that fire crackling, the wood crackling. He put the kettle on, and then you could hear that singing. I'm still in bed, waiting for my cup of tea. I had a cup of tea in bed. Oh, that was the nicest cup of tea. And he kept that going for many years, which was very nice,
good,
very nice.
good,
I really appreciated that. But you always had to keep the fire going. It got pretty, should have told you, it got pretty cold there at Stony Creek too. So we had to take turns stoking the fire because it had to go all night long too. So we took turns stoking the fire. We had some very cold winters out at Stony Creek.
And at Stony Creek, you were there year round. So you stayed
Yeah,
up there 12
that's
months
right.
of the year.
We were there year round, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So all
Summer,
through the
winter.
winter, must have been pretty lonely up there.
Yes, and we were the only people out there, right? And the Ed and myself and the Terry and Mike.
How about bears?
I-
How about wildlife? Bears? Any bears?
No bears, no. We did get beaver lopping down our trees, quite regular. We could hear them wah,
Yeah.
up against the house, yeah.
Yeah.
But I must tell you about when we went to, I didn't tell you where we got our groceries, did you? We had to get our groceries in the fall because our road was closed. They never plowed Stony Creek Road. So we had to get our groceries in the fall. We bought an old truck. So Mac Woodworth was the one that advised us to go to Calgary to this certain place to stock up on our groceries. So that's what we done. And we also added a bottle of wine. Yeah, we added a bottle of wine to this one. We were thinking of one New Year's Eve. We wanted to sort of celebrate this one New Year's Eve because otherwise it was elk meat. So we were very good. We saved that bottle of wine from October right through to New Year's Eve, which was pretty good, eh? And I should tell you that the battery radio was quite a blessing too. We had that at Stony Creek and at Eisenhower. That was just a blessing to keep in touch with the outside world. And I got the odd music too, but it was a lot of talking too. But anyway, this one particular, you don't mind if I tell you this story?
No.
This particular New Year's Eve, we got all dressed up in I had a nice taffeta dress with a sort of yellow bodice, and Ed had a suit. He got dressed up in his suit. It was really nice. It was just so nice. We just wanted to celebrate. Anyways, we started in eastern Canada, in Nova Scotia, with the battery radio, and we celebrated Nova Scotia, Ontario, is it? Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta. We didn't make British Columbia. We didn't. Anyway, we had a good time anyways. But it was kind of nice to get all dressed up, and Ed got out of his uniform, and I got out of my, not blue jeans, I've never worn blue jeans. That is something that I'd never heard of in England. I'd just wore skirts and dresses, which is what I wore when I came out to Canada, was a kilt. And that's why my picture at Stony Creek has got this kilt. I thought all the women in Canada just wore dresses and kilts, not slacks. You just didn't wear slacks in England either. So, but I found out different. But I've never worn blue jeans. I didn't feel comfortable in blue jeans, just slacks.
No.
I'm just backing up a little bit sometimes.
It's okay. It's okay. Did you have a Christmas tree in these
Eisenhower?
cabins?
In
Yeah.
Eisenhower.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't have electricity there, right? And this was one Christmas that Ed put out. Well, it was a tree that was growing there, right at the end of our walk from the back of the house, and it took you right to the driveway. And there was a little tree there, just about this size, and Ed managed to fix it up with blue lights from a battery. Oh, it looks so cute. Everywhere else is dark, right? So we went into town this one night, because we're on a road now at Eisenhower. We're on the 1A, which was kind of nice. So we went in to visit some friends, and on the way back, of course, it's dark. Everything is dark. And we're approaching the Eisenhower house, and here's this little tree with the blue lights on it. It just looked so magical. It just looked beautiful. It was wonderful. It really was. So I really appreciated Ed doing that, because we got a lot of pleasure out of it.
Yeah.
All the way around, it was just pitch black until we found our way into the house in the dark. It was dark in there too until we got the pump-up lantern going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by now you've got another son. You have 3 sons, so you've got another.
That was Brian was born at the buffalo paddock. Yes, he was. Well, no, not literally. No. But there was a warden house at, I don't know if anybody would remember that. There was a warden house at the corner of the turnoff into the compound. There was no compound in those days. There was this warden house. It was quite a nice house, and it had lights too, which was kind of nice. So I was pregnant with Brian. So came time for Brian he wanted to enter the world. So I was taken into the Banff Hospital, and no, he wasn't born at the buffalo paddock, but I tell people that. No. So he was born at the old hospital, and so was Terry. 2 of my sons were born at the old hospital in Banff, where all the steps were. And so we ended up with 3 boys.
3 boys, and how did the boys get their schooling, being way out in the wilderness?
For a while in Stony Creek, Mike became 5 years old. I had to send away for correspondence course. Now you call it homeschooling, I think. And he was on correspondence until we moved into town. I have a picture of him doing his homework outside on a card table. Which is kind of cute. So he had to do his homework. Yeah. And I remember one lesson, he had to draw a picture of a pig. He'd never seen a pig. So I suggested he do the picture of an elk. So. Which was kind of tricky because he chose a bull elk. So he put some elk horns on it or whatever. Yeah. Antlers, that's the word. Antlers. And yeah, that was accepted.
Yeah.
I wrote a little explanation letter about that because he had never seen a pig before.
Yeah, no. Sure. And then at Castle, you started bringing the kids into Banff.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we realized that the kids should go to school. Like Brian and Terry had never seen other children other than, well, he'd seen wardens out at Stony Creek and horse wranglers taking their horses back to the ranch or whatever. No children to play with. No. So Mike would have been, let's see, he started in grade 7. So how old would he have been? About 10? 10 would be? Yeah, I guess so. And then there was Terry, and then there was Brian coming up to 6 too. So all 3 went to school.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I decided to drive them into school for that reason, that they would get to meet other children. Mike was okay with that, and Brian, but Terry, I got a phone call from his teacher one day and said, your son is out playing in the sandbox and he's supposed to be in his classroom. But he found it kind of hard to get adjusted to playing with other kids and being in a schoolroom. But anyway, I drove them into school, back home to either make a loaf of bread or something in that thingamabob, and then back to pick them up, and then back home. And that was 80 miles a day I'd done for quite a while. We looked forward to weekends. We looked forward to summer holidays. It was really nice to didn't have to do any driving.
But eventually the driving got to be too much, and you moved into town.
And then we bought the house that I'm living in now. In let's see, 1955. It was about 57. We bought it, and then we rented it for 2 or 3 days. No, 2 or 3 years actually. Found some very nice renters, and then eventually we moved in with all the kids. Yeah, and that's where I'm living now. On at the end of the rainbow is where I live.
Yeah.
Yes, nice place to live.
Yeah.
It's a lovely district. Have I forgotten anything? No.
Ed, the town warden. Ed was the town warden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed.
When we moved into town, there was a town warden, and he got the job as town warden until he retired in 1978. Right.
Yeah.
1978. So he was a warden from 1948 to 78. So
Yeah.
it was a great life, and I must say that looking back now, I really appreciate living in Stony Creek, especially year-round. At the time, the first winter was tough. I must admit that. I really must admit that. It was lonesome. But then I got to. I even took into. Oh no, I didn't take in sewing. No, I took up sewing, even with the comb and lantern. And a treadle machine. I've still got that treadle machine. Good for the leg muscles, right? Really. Yeah. So.
Well, you got to live the dream that so many of us think about and talk about and dream about, living in a cabin in the wilderness, and that little piece of paradise, and you actually lived it.
And I actually lived that. That's right, for about 5 years at Stony Creek, I guess. 4 or 5 years. Yeah, looking back, I really appreciate that. I really do. And Ed's job in the winter was to make sure that our lifeline was okay, like the haywire through the insulators. And sometimes there would be a bad storm, and then there's no connection. The line came down. He had I have to drink again.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's okay, there's still a little bit left. But there's more where that came from.
Oh, good. He had a field phone. In those days they had field phones, and they carried them in their pack sack on the back. In that way, he could phone back to me on his field phone and test the phone line to see exactly where this break was. And eventually he would find it. Oh, that's something else he had to learn, was climbing trees with spurs. He'd never done that before. So that was quite something to learn. Anyways, he became quite an expert at that. So then he would phone back to me and with his field phone, and ring long and a short and a long, and
how does the field phone work? Do you have to climb the tree to connect to the wire?
No, there was a battery in it. There was a batteries. So he was able to phone back to me with a battery in the field phone. Right?
Was it connected to a wire? Like how? You have to climb the pole, right?
Well, I just remember seeing him wind it up and use it.
Wow.
Mhm.
And
It-
climb a
it-
tree?
Came in very handy.
Yeah.
But he got the field phone on his back, yeah.
Right.
Right.
His duties in town must have been, well, obviously quite different.
Oh, quite different, yes, definitely. You'd have to go after people that had loose dogs and things like that. It was quite different. it was very different, very, very different.
Yeah.
And you had an indoor toilet.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, yes.
And electricity.
I
and
went
running
all over
water.
the house, yeah, when we moved in, turning the lights on. It was a thrill to me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Turn the
Yeah.
lights on,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And have an electric stove. Mind you, I kind of missed the wood stove too. I really did. Took me a while to know how to operate it. But it was kind of nice after a while. I miss the, in the winter we would open the oven door at Eisenhower and put our feet up there, and it felt so good to get them nice. You didn't do that with an electric stove. Just didn't work, no.
No.
No. Well, you had a furnace. Wow.
Yeah, all that
really
modern
something
stuff.
to-
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Good.
Bow Summit was wonderful in its own way too. It was just that little cabin at first that gave me quite a shock.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
the rest of it is really
Yeah.
really a wonderful life.
Yeah.
And the warden service was really great then, because we were all in the same boat. There was a lot of wives that were living in different parts of the district with the same problems that I was having. You know, outdoor plumbing and no running water and mice. I had to loan my cat to one of the wardens' farms. They had so many mice. So I loaned my cat out for a while.
Yeah. Rent a cat.
And that worked, yeah. That
Yeah.
worked, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's another difficulty that we had to cope with, mice.
Mm.
And,
Yeah.
How did the children like living out in the
not too bad at Eisenhower. I used to be concerned about that too, because I'm driving them in the meantime, and they became quite friendly with some other kids in school, and would invite them out on their birthdays. And I thought, no, what are we going to do with them on their birthdays out in the back countries, more or less? But they enjoyed it because it was different. It was quite different, yes. And they used to float logs down the creek and have a little race, floating logs down the creek. You know, things like that. They were quite happy to do that. And I was happy to know that they were happy too, because I was wondering how we would entertain them. And Mum made a birthday cake in that thing.
That thing.
And, yeah,
Oh,
that went
great.
over pretty good too.
Great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Does
So,
anybody else have any questions? There's one in
Yes.
the back.
yes.
What did your family in England think of you living in the mountains?
Oh, they thought I should come back. Yeah, it's true. It's really true.
Did they come over and stay in the cabin with you?
No. My sister and her husband came to Stony Creek, but my sister was not impressed. No, really, she was not impressed. She said, "How can you stand it?" But her husband really liked it. But she felt kind of hemmed in by the mountains and the rough and ready life. She didn't go for that. She came from Reading, a big city too, so that didn't help. But they didn't come back again.
Dorothy, it might be nice to mention that you still make cookies.
Oh, I forgot. Yes.
And it's got this little chimney.
Thingamabob, yeah.
There must be a name for
That
it.
must be. It's a barrel oven, isn't it?
Yeah, that's,
Is that the right word?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No.
I've never been blessed with one.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to the Windy Cabin on Father's Day, that's when we have back-to-bath days. Yes, that's Father's Day. And we bake cookies in there, in the oven, in this thing.
You should say that Windy Cabin has been conveniently moved, but back into town.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Windy Cabin was that was in the Stony Creek district, actually. I remember going out there on horseback. I didn't really like that. No, I wasn't too happy about that. And So they told me, don't wear a white shirt, you'll get bucked off. I thought, oh my gosh, horses don't like white or something. So I didn't wear a white shirt.
Dorothy,
Yeah.
did you ever learn how to pack a horse?
No, oh my gosh, no. No, I was too small. I mean, I was too short. Right? What is it? Horses are quite tall, right? Some of them.
Right.
But I did have a government horse, which I was not too happy with, named, oh, what was his name? There was Madge, Whack. And this Whack had a mind of his own. And so we were going to go, has anybody heard of the Dormer cabin?
Yeah.
There you go. So that was that was quite an expedition too. So we were going to Dormer cabin, and Ed had to take canned food also to stock the cabin there. So we get, I must tell you this, we get about halfway there, and my horse just took off. It just took off because he had smelt Ron Warner's horses had just gone through, and they just wanted to catch up, I guess. So I finally pulled the horse back with the reins and sat on and tied it up. And would you believe I tied it up to a tree that had a hornet's nest? Yeah, really, there was hornets everywhere. Oh, that was terrible. Here's me just sitting on the bank, and Ed, I'm not going to go any further. That was my words, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had enough.
Yeah.
So he gave me his horse, which was quite gentle. Which was, yeah, really. So we exchanged horses, and then we carried on. But that was not a very exciting. Well, it was an exciting trip, but I was not very happy about that horse,
No.
really. And of all the trees in the woods there, I had to choose a tree that had hornets coming out of it. Oh.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
Great.
I really appreciate you coming. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Dorothy. That was fabulous.
Did you get it all?
It's all recorded. And now,
No?
are you up for a couple of songs?
Yes. You are my sunshine, and
Yeah.
I'd like you to join in, please. That would be very nice. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. But when you woke, dear, I was mistaken, and I hung my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. I'll always love you and make you happy if you will only see me through. But if you leave me to love another, you'll regret it all someday. Yes, you will. You're my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. So please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I got
Oh,
a minute
good.
left.
Good.
What's next? You want my when you smile? Does anybody know that one?
When you're
When
smiling?
you're smiling? When
Oh,
you're
yeah.
smiling.
Another
when you-
oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. We'll try that one anyway. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you your crying. You bring on the rain. So stop your crying. Be happy again. Keep on smiling. 'Cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Yes, it does. Yes. Yay. Thank you very much.
How you doing, Dorothy? You got it in there for any more? Or do you want to have a bit of a rest?
Oh, more.
More? Okay. She likes to entertain. You should have been an English music hall gal.
Well, I wanted to be a chorus girl.
You wanted to be a chorus girl.
And Mom said, no way.
Okay.
Anyway, what was the next one, Cheryl?
Do you want to do, what's on there, Chic?
There's Home on the Range or Coconuts.
How about Home on the Range?
Home on the Range.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody knows that one, right?
Okay.
Yay.
You've been there.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. No, they're not. Okay, very good. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Tipperary.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I'd like that one. Oh, I'd like that one.
Okay.
Tipperary? Oh, yes. Let's do Tipperary. Do you have it? No. Yes, she does. Yay. Yes. This is a good marching song. They really liked it before. It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye to Piccadilly. Farewell, Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there. Once more. It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye to Piccadilly. Farewell, Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there. Yes, it is. Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Oh, good.
That's a good
You're
one.
on a roll, Dorothy.
I'm on a...
Yeah.
How's the time?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Nobody.
it's only 3:30.
Nobody.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Does anybody know? I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Yes,
yay,
here we
let's
go.
have it.
Another oldie but goodie.
It's a goodie, that's right. Oh, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, and there they are standing in a row. There are big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Give them a twist, a flick of the wrist, that's what the showman said. Oh, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, and every ball you throw will make me rich. Whoa! And there stands me wife, the idol of me life, singing roll a roll a ball a penny a pitch. Singing roll a roll a ball a penny a pitch.
Have a banana.
Singing roll a roll a ball a penny a pitch. Singing roll a roll a ball, a roll a roll a ball, singing roll a roll a ball a penny a pitch. Once more. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, and there they are standing in a row. There are big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Give them a twist, a flick of the wrist, what the showman said. Oh, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, and every boy you go will make me rich. Wow. And there stands the wife, the iron of the life, singing roll a ball a ball and get rich. Singing roll a ball and get rich. Singing roll a ball and get rich. Roll a ball, singing roll a ball and get rich. Pitch, pitch. Oh, that's a good one, good one, good one. Thank you very much. That's a good one. Can we keep going? No.
Happy trails.
Oh,
Let's
happy
do happy trails.
Whoa.
Another oldie but goodie.
Yes.
Oldie but
Can I
goodie.
have a quick drink?
Yes.
Just, I'm good and dry.
This room hasn't heard these songs for long.
That means it's the last song?
This is a good one.
Is this, are
Everybody
we
know
one?
Happy Trails.
Happy trails.
Happy
Yeah.
Trails. Put my shirt up. Oh, we started. Until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Any more? Trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Yay! Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Fabulous.
Oh, I love doing that. I love to sing. Thank you very much, everybody. It was wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you very much.